Welcome back to Story Mode. It's the end of 1999 and the world is petrified of the new millennium bug, the thing that's going to shut down all computers and shut down the world. But I had something else on my mind. I wanted to get out of Microsoft and find a more challenging job. Well, I have to be honest, 2000 was a time where music wasn't really the same for me. Keep in mind, I'm an 80s boy. I do have three songs I really like from 2000. First, U2's Beautiful Day. It's a beautiful day. And how could I go past Teenage Dirtbag? I've got 2 tickets to Iron Man. And Miss Jackson by the incredible Outkast. Sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, it's the end of 1999 and I'm back into video games. Yes, I'm back into video games. In fact, I'm even selling some video games on the side because the money that I was earning in Microsoft wasn't really paying the bills. I had finance on the Prelude which needed to be paid and I wanted to save up a little bit of money because Mandy wanted us to start a savings account. I needed to be responsible now. As fate would have it, I'm looking for a new job and Microsoft makes me redundant. This put me into a bit of a panic because I needed to find a job and a job fast. In fact, I would take anything at this point. So I get a job being a car park attendant. Yep, that's right, a car park attendant. Nothing special, literally just staying at the booth and giving a ticket to someone who wants to park their car. I have to admit, at the start of the job, it was very boring and very degrading. The way people treat you was humiliating. Within weeks, I was running the car park. I would find a better structure of way to park cars, and I was stacking cars. Now, that doesn't mean crashing them. It actually means taking the keys off the owner's cars and double parking them so you could fit more in the car park. After approximately 3 months, I started to like the job, and that's because I started to get to know the regular customers. And guess what? They started to treat me like a human being. They weren't too bad after all. So I would then eventually get a car park of my own. That's right, I could set up the car park how I wanted and I'd be the total manager for that car park. I even did a course in OHS, Occupational Health and Safety, and with a friend we started up a union in the car park to fight for better rates per hour. Like any job, it had its ups and downs, and being a car park manager, you had a lot of responsibilities, incidents such as people having an accident. Unfortunately, some real tragic stories like people overdosing on drugs in the stairwell, and that's probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. One day I got there 4:30 in the morning to open up the car park, which opens up at 5 o'clock. I was there at 4:30 making sure all the stairways clean so no one trips. And I saw this young girl, she would have been no older than 16 years old. And she looked asleep and I thought, well, maybe she's had a big night because this was in central Melbourne where all the nightclubs and rave parties were happening. So I touched her to wake her up and I could tell she wasn't warm, she was cold and stiff. And I just completely froze. I felt like I wasn't even in my own body. I rang up the police and the ambulance and unfortunately, she passed away due to an overdose. After this, we started putting things in place where we wouldn't allow people to come in the car park if they didn't have their ticket stub. We would eliminate anyone coming in the car park and shooting up drugs or doing anything illegal on the premises. In the meantime, I wasn't using my Honda Prelude as much. I was just driving to the car park, parking it of course, and I wanted something a little bit more comparable to my GDR. and the Prelude just wasn't that car, so I traded it in and bought a twin turbo Supra. I loved the car, but I hated the color. It was brown. Now, it wasn't the ugliest brown, but it was brown nevertheless. I wanted black, and because I got it at a fairly good price, I had it in my mind that I'm going to respray the car black. So with the help of a panel beater friend, I took the car there and worked on it myself with his guidance. And in fact, it turned out amazing. It looked almost showroom condition. After about a month, I got bored of the car, and I think it was good to have that project and to make a brown Supra black, and it was amazing to own the car, but I was more interested in my GTR. The Supra just wasn't doing it for me, so I sold the car. The car park job was going well. In fact, I was working there 7 days a week for 3 months straight. Mandy and I just had it in our heads to save as much money as we could, but in the meantime buy a few games here and there. Mandy would come over and stay at my grandmother's house probably 3 or 4 days of the week. This way we get to spend more time with each other with our hectic jobs taking over our life. Getting back to video games, Sony were about to release their new PlayStation, ironically named the PlayStation 2. And the game that was going to be launched on that PlayStation 2, or near launch, was a new Gran Turismo, nicknamed Gran Turismo 2000. This would be the working name for Gran Turismo 3, and a tech demo was going around of the graphics. It looked amazing. I have never seen a better car game in my life. So it's one Wednesday afternoon, it's approximately 2 o'clock. Mandy calls me up and she's finished work. I was already home. She asked me to come and pick her up and we might go out for dinner that night. No problem. I get there, get to work around 3 o'clock, and I said, can we just go past Charisma, the place where I bought my R33 GTR? Because apparently they've got the brand new R34 GTR. R34! And I've seen pictures of this thing and it looks insane. So we walked into Charisma and there it was in the showroom, a brand spanking new R34 GTR. Well, it was close to new anyway. And the price tag over $100,000. Man, I could almost buy my dream car for that, a Honda NSX. After looking at the GTR for approximately an hour and just drooling over it, Mandy and I had to go. And as we walked out of the showroom, we saw a new car, not released in Australia at the time, the S15 Nissan Silvia. It was brand new and in lightning yellow. Now I have to say, I loved it, but not as much as Mandy. In fact, I've never seen her so engrossed over a car before. You've got to understand, Mandy is not into motor cars. She likes practical things, but when she saw this, she absolutely fell in love with it. It was turbo, it was 6-speed manual, and it was yellow. Mandy looked at me and said, I've got to stop being so practical. I need to live life. I want a sports car. Let's see how much it is. It had 4,000 kilometers on the clock and I so wanted her to get it. Imagine we both had Nissans and good ones at that. And this is a time where Mandy could be a little bit less practical, and with me having no second car, this was the perfect opportunity. I would even help her pay for it. After test driving the car and working out the finances and trading in a HRV, we could just do it. We were over the moon.
And the fact that Joel and I bought this car together, I will never sell it, ever, no matter what.